Welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. So today what we're gonna do is that we're going to solve a LeetCode problem. So the first thing that we want to do is just go to the LeetCode website. LeetCode easy problem. Okay, so what we want to do today is the remove duplicate from the sorted array. Okay, so giving a sorted array nums, remove the duplicates in places that each element appear only once and return new length. Do not allocate extra space by another array. You must do this by modifying of the input array in place with 01 extra memory. Okay, so let's go to REPL.
In between the lines is the only place you find what you're missing, but you didn't know was there.
Okay, so we need to use a vector in this program.
Do your best to try and forgive me this week.
Let's use a vector.
This week.
Okay, whenever we need to use a vector, we need to include a library vector. Right. And then using namespace s3. And then in the main functions. So we're gonna ask the users to enter the elements for the vector. So what we want to do is that first we need to create a vector. Okay, so how do we create a vector? To create vectors, what we do is just vector, say vector. So the vector has the integers data type, so we just say less than integers and then greater than, and then a. So the next thing that we want to do is that we want to ask the users to enter the elements for the vectors, populate the vector with element. Okay. Cout, enter the first. Okay. So we're gonna ask the users how many elements would they want to be in. Would they want them to be in the vector? So we're gonna cout how many elements are in the vector. And then we need to create a variable. We need to create a variable to hold the sides of the vector, so it's the integer sides. And then in side. Okay, so now we have the size of the vectors. What we want to do is now we want to populate the vectors. So this. Prompt the user to enter the size of the vector. Alright, so now we want to populate the vector with elements. So for. So we're going to use the for loop. The for loop is going to execute many times according to the size of the vectors. So for integer I equals 0, I less than psi I plus plus, the vector so we have to ask for the element first. So integer element in cout enter the element. Okay, cin we're gonna take in the value now. element. And then now when we have that value inside the element, what we want to do now is that push that value into the vectors. So we say vector a I equal element. Alright, so after we populate the vectors, what we want to do right now is that we want to remove the duplicate. So for example, okay, so let's run it first. Okay, how many elements are in the vector? So let's say we need to have 5. We're going to have 5 elements in the vectors. We enter 5. Oh, there must be a space right here. So what you want to do is just basically put the space right here. Let's run it again. How many elements are in the vectors? Let's say we have 5 elements in the vectors. We're gonna enter the first element. It's gonna go into a for loop right here. So it's gonna execute 5 times because there are 5 elements in the vectors. So we're gonna enter 1. There's something wrong with element. Exited as segmentation font. Okay. Let's go search for it. How to insert an element into a vector. I think we can use pushback functions in C++. So what does it do? Add an element at the end of the vectors after its current last element. So we can do this. So how do we do this? So the name of the vectors, push back the functions, and then the integers, the elements that you want to push in there. So we're gonna do right here. So A, push back, and then element. Okay, see. So let's say we have 5 elements. 1, 1, 1, 4, and 4. Okay, let's check to see if there are 5 elements in the vectors. These 5 elements in the vectors. So we want to display the elements. Display the original elements of the vector. So for integers, I equals 0. We're gonna iterate through 5 elements, so it's gonna be I less than size, I plus plus, CL, A, I, and line. Now instead of doing n line, we're gonna do this. The elements in the vectors are. Alright, let's check it. How many elements are in the vector? We say we have 5 in there. 1, 1, 1, 4, 4. So we succeeded trying to build a vector. So what we want to do now is that we want to remove the duplicate. So how do we remove it? So this is how we're gonna remove it. We're gonna use a for loop. We're gonna iterate through every single element of the array. I less than psi, I plus plus. We're gonna compare it. If, so let's say we have to compare this one. If this one is equal to the next element, we're gonna erase that element, right? If A I equal A I plus 1. So I is 0 in this case right now. So 1 is gonna be 1, and then A I plus 1 is gonna be the next element, which is 1. So because they equal, so we want to remove it. So this is how we're gonna remove it. We remove it by saying So vector erase functions. Okay, so there's a function called erase in vectors when you include the library std library. So remove here. This is the descriptions of the functions. Remove from the vector either a single element, positions, or a range of elements first, last. This effectively reduces the container size by the number of elements removed, which are destroyed. So it's also reduced the size of the size of the array as well. So we don't have to worry about the size of the array. So after we remove one element, the size of the array is going to be 4. So which is great. Because vectors use an array as their underlying stored, erasing elements in position other than vector and cause the container relocate all the elements after the second erases the new positions. So what it means that, for example, give me a second. Paint. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna share the screen with you guys. I'm gonna share a whiteboard with you guys. Okay, so in a whiteboard, let's say we have a vectors of 5 elements. We have 1, 1, 1, and 4. So you know that when you try to erase an element, let's say you want to erase this element, what you need to do is that you have to move everything, all of these numbers, to the left 1 unit. So you have to move it over 1 unit, right? So with the erase functions, it's gonna do it for you. All you have to do is just call the functions, and it's gonna resize the functions as well. It's gonna resize the vector as well. So instead of moving this over, like moving these numbers over, it's 4 and 4, and then this is gonna be like a 0 if you don't resize it. But if you resize it, this is gonna be like this. So when you use the erase functions, it will automatically delete the number that you want to delete, and then move all the elements on its right to the left by 1 unit, and also resize the function and resize the vector as well. So the erase function is great. It's gonna save us a lot of work. Okay, so let's get back to our code. Nope. Okay, let's get back here. So what we want to do is that we're gonna say erase, erase, and then I. Wait, what's going on? What? Oh, so when you use erase, you cannot really put like an integer in there. It doesn't work. So what you have to do is that, so let's say if you want to erase this first element, instead of putting 0 in there, it's not gonna work. So what you want to do is just basically say a begin, and then plus, and then the index position. So in this case, we want to erase I. So when it compare this one, if it's equal to the second one, we're gonna erase that one, right? Cool. And then let's say now we're gonna display the array after the vector. The vector after removing the duplicate. For integer I equals 0, and then I. So instead of size now, because the array is going to be modified, the size is not going to be 5 anymore. What we want to do is that we're going to let the functions, we're going to call the function called size. It's going to automatically tell us the size of the vector. So we're going to do a dot size I plus plus, and then cl ai. So there must be a space between the numbers, and then cl inline, to just a new line characters at the end of the the last element of the vectors. The vectors element after removing the duplicate. Awesome. So 5, 1, 1, 1, 4, 4. What happened? Are you here? Let's see. So it's stop right here. So let's see if it's going here. It goes into this loop, so we just say cout here. Okay. So what's the problem here? I just don't see the problem. I see. Okay, so instead of size, we're gonna say a dot size. I think that's gonna work. 5, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. Perfect. So it works. Let's try another example. 5, 1, 1, 1, 4, 4. Okay, so we gotta see the problem right here. So let's say we still have duplicate. So let's go through this. Let's go through this loop and ask ourselves, why does it still have a 1 right here? So the first thing it's gonna do is, right, the for loop is gonna go through every single characters or integers inside of the vectors, and it's gonna compare with the next elements. So the first thing is gonna compare the first element, which is I equals 0, which is 1 right here, and it's compared with the second element, right? So 1 and 1, because they are the same. Let's go here. It's gonna be a little bit hard to see, so I'm gonna draw it on the board so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, eraser. How do you clear everything? Okay. Right, so we have 1, 1, 1, 4, and 4, right? So the first thing it's going to do is that I'm going to compare the first characters and the second characters right here. And because they are the same, so it's going to delete the first characters. So we're going to delete this one, right? And then it's going to move everything, all of these numbers, to the left one unit. So it's going to be 1, 1, 4, and 4, right? So we're in the second loop. So after we erase the first element, we go into the second loop. So I is going to be equal to 1 now, which is the second element. So we are compare the second element with the third element I plus 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, so it's going to be the third element. So 1, when you compare 1 and 4, because they're not different, so we're not going to erase the numbers. So to fix this problem, what we want to do is that we have to compare that number with the number before that as well. So what we want to do to say our AI equal I minus 1, and that will solve the problem. Okay. Okay. Let's run it. I'm gonna invite 1, 1, 1, 4, 4. Perfect. So it worked. Thank you. If you guys have any questions about this problems, or you guys have any suggestions on how to solve this problem, please leave it in the comments, and I would like to answer and take in all the advice that you guys have. Thank you.